Welcome back to my channel. My name is Malika and I am here talking to you guys about the topic that I posted in my community tab. It originally was from my Instagram stories and it is basically a question. Yes, they love you, and when I say they, insert family, friends, romantic partner. Yes, they love you, but do they have the skill set to love you? And do you have the skill set to love yourself? So if you're interested in that topic, let's get into it. Okay, so where did I get this concept, this idea from? I was listening to something somewhere, because now I can't remember. And this woman had said, I know that my family loves me, but they don't have the skill set to love me the way that I need to be loved. And that was profound to me, because as a person who grew up with a lot of childhood trauma due to my family dynamics, and somebody who has had to create very firm boundaries with my family, at times, I resonated with that, because it's just like, I know that my family loves me, but they don't necessarily have the skill set to love me the way that I need to be loved, so that I don't feel like I'm being depleted, used, so I don't feel like I'm being ignored, so that I don't feel like I'm in an unsafe environment. So I feel heard and I feel seen. So I don't have to fit into their cookie cutter box or their norms of what they think I should be doing or how they think I should be operating. That was profound to me, because oftentimes I just feel like, yes, people can love you, but that doesn't mean that their love is enough, or that it's equipped in the way that you need it for you. And that's another reason why I preach self-love. Self-love. You're going to hear this on this channel for however long this channel keeps going. Self-love is so important, because you have the best ability to love yourself the way that you need it. But you have to learn that, and it takes a learning experience. I'm not saying you're just going to go walk out into the world and somebody's going to love you the way that you need to be loved. That happens. I'm sure it does. But I'm also sure that it doesn't happen on a normal basis. Okay, let me take my glasses off, because they're doing too much for me. But I feel like that doesn't happen like on a normal, consistent basis for everyone. We mainly get in environments, especially with our family, where you don't choose that. So, you know, or at least that's what they tell you. You don't choose that. I'm not going to get into my spiritual beliefs, whatever. I don't personally believe that, but on a larger scale, we believe that we don't choose our parents. We don't choose our family, extended family. So it's like, that's why I preach self-love, because you have to learn yourself. You have to learn how to give yourself all the things that you wanted as a child or whatever. And when I say child, no, every time I say child on this channel, I mean all the way from infancy to 19. Anytime I say child, that's what I mean. When you're a child, like, you don't, unless you grow up in an environment where people take the time to learn you and love you throughout your evolution, without judgment, and they unconditionally, you know, accept you, you probably walk away from it at certain times feeling jaded. So I asked the question, they love you, but do they have the skill set to love you? And I would feel like, from the responses that I got, which not many people responded, from the people that did respond, they responded in depth. So I asked, one of my guy friends reached out to me when he seen it in my Instagram stories, and he was like, whoa, that question was so deep, and I think that, you know, I'm still learning how to love myself the way that I need to be loved. And we just started talking about that deeper. And like, when you get in a romantic relationship, for instance, making sure that you try your best to learn each partner that you're with, trying to understand where they're coming from, having that compassion, that understanding that we're not always going to be the same. We're going to evolve. If you're on any type of journey where you're not super stubborn and stuck in your ways, you're going to evolve. And how do you do that in a healthy way? How do you continue to give a person what they need? Well, it starts with communication, but it also starts with that person knowing what they need. What do you need? And how can you give it to yourself first? Because if you can't give it to yourself, nobody else is going to, in my opinion, be able to give it to you. And we should always rely on ourselves first anyways to give it to ourselves. But that's a work in progress. We're work in progress. We're not perfect people. And then, so I talked to him about it, and then Keisha Dinkra, which you guys should follow here if you're not already. She has a YouTube channel. She also has a business. So go out and support her channel and her business. But she responded that thankfully people in her life have loved her through her evolution, basically is what she said. And I love that, because that means, excuse me, that means you have a good support system around you. That means you have people who are capable of not holding you to a societal norm or a cultural or family norm, or that understand that we will grow, we'll evolve, we'll change. And there are times, you know, it made me think about, her comment made me think about those people in your life that really are able to love you through a difficult period, even when you're not able to love yourself. That's what her comment made me think about. Not that she was saying that in her comment, but that's what it made me think about. It's like, those are the type of people that I feel have the capacity to give you the type of love you need, even when you don't know that you need it. Like, there's moments, you know, I think about, especially in the Black American community, I think about Big Mama. And everywhere we have a different name for Big Mama, but the matriarch of the family, the grandmother, you know, I think about that woman in our family dynamic who just knew what to do in her own way, whether that was getting you in the kitchen to just relieve some of that, you know, tension or whatever, you know, the earth mothers who put their hand in the soil and got you to put your hand in the soil, the ones who would just talk to you, just listen. I think about Big Mama energy. Like, those are the archetypes I resonate when I think about somebody being able to give you the love that you need. And then the fathers, I'm sure from a male perspective, the fathers, the uncles, the brothers, you know, the grandfathers. And a lot of us weren't as fortunate always to have that experience due to a lot of things in our society that I'm not going to get into, but you all know what I'm talking about. That could be very scarce, but those are the people that I think about. And even in their ability, it could be limited sometimes. It could be limited because I'm coming from a psychological perspective and background most of the time. And with a little spiritual in it, with a little life experience, you know. But most of the time, those people are just living off of life experience. So It's just interesting. And these are just my takes. I told you guys I would answer the question in my own way, and this is how I'm answering the question. So, did I have the skill set that I needed to love myself? No. Have I learned it and am still learning it? Yes. So this question requires you to be honest. It's to be honest. It's not to say that people don't love you. It's to say they love me, but I feel like they are lacking the skill set to love me the way that I need it. And then to ask yourself, well, can you love yourself the way that you need it? Do you know how to love yourself the way that you need to? Do you? And I think for some of us, it's a work in progress. I think for some of us, we're learning how to do that due to the things that we've been through in life. I can only speak for my experience, you know? I came from a trauma-ridden environment, on top of being a Black American. Even though we know race is a social construct, it is, but it's still something that's very prevalent and real here. So we live within the confines of that, unfortunately. So I have a different experience. I have a different, family lineage. And those play a part in how I grew up and how I was able to receive love and see what love was. And my idea of what love is now is very different from what it is when it was when I grew up. It needs to be specific. It needs to be tailored to you. And that's why I feel like we have to learn it for ourselves. We have to do it for ourselves first before we can ask it of anybody else. But then there are those chance instances where people come into your life, mentors, friends, family. We have this thing in our community where, your friend on the street, you might consider them family, your cousin, whatever. Family, friends, whatever the case, you do have those chance, even romances where they just come in and they're like able to do it and you're able to learn from that experience. And that's beautiful. And I feel like for those of us that necessarily hasn't happened, you've learned it the other way, where you've had to learn what love isn't in order to learn what it needs to be for you. So what are some of the ways that love needs to be for me? Love needs to be gentle. So I have started to be gentle with myself. Love needs to be really gentle with me. You need to handle me with care. So if I can't ask anybody else to handle me with care, if I'm not handling myself with care. So I try to handle myself with care now. I'm just giving a few examples. What else? Love needs to be open-minded. And I can't ask a person to be open-minded unless I'm open-minded with myself. So I try to be very open-minded. And even if I'm not going to take anything from an interaction or from something I'm looking into, the key is to keep an open mind and an open heart. And that's something that's challenging when you've been in very traumatic situations. So love has to be open-minded. So I have to keep an open mind, which is something I'm working on. All these things are things that I'm working on. What else? Love has to allow for my independence. I don't want to be in codependent situations anymore. And my independence is very, very important to me. And I don't mean independence just to make your own money. You know, I mean my independence to just, hey, I don't need to be up under you all day, you know, like, or my independence to just go off and do things alone sometimes. Maybe that's what I want to do. You know, we all need that in our life. And I am coming from a very codependent place where that didn't happen, but I've grown to love my independence. Not to say that I just want to be, there will be people who watch this and are too narrow-minded to understand what I'm saying. I mean independence in a broad sense of where sometimes I need some me time. You know that song by, what is her name? Oh my God, what is her name? I can't think of it, but some of y'all will know what I'm, me time. All things being equal, I always put you first. No, you'll be down for me for better and for worse. What is her name? I cannot think of her name. And she's Trinidadian, I think. She played in that show that came out in 2020 or 2019. I think it was 2020. It was called Sweet Magnolias on Netflix. Oh my God, I cannot think of her name. But anyways, she wrote a song called Me Time. And it's just that kind of independence thing for me. Like, how long is this video? Anyways, you guys get what I'm saying. So it was very interesting hearing. I want to do a part 2 to this because I want y'all to answer the question. Do you acknowledge that people love you in your life, but they are lacking the skill set to love you the way that you need? And then part 2 of the question is, can you love yourself the way that you need? And oh, I also got another response from one of my friends here that I met through some mentorship, and she expressed in her response that she was learning, you know, she was learning how to do this, and learning how to get people out of her life that couldn't do it. Because sometimes a toxic relationship is what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Sometimes you just have to get rid of people who can't even attempt to show you any type of love. And then boundaries. We talked about boundaries, and in her post she kind of talked about boundaries, how she's enforcing boundaries with family and stuff like that, because sometimes you have to. It's the only way to maintain your peace, and it's the only way to honor yourself and love yourself the way that you need it. So anyways, if you want to answer the questions, please answer them in the description box down below. I would love to hear your answers because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and I think we can learn from one another. You can also DM me your responses, because I know people don't want to necessarily share them out loud. I'm not saying that I'll respond to your message. I may, it depends, but how busy or not I am. But yeah, I want to hear your response. I want to know how you feel about this, and think about it for a few moments before you answer it, because it's one of those questions that I don't think we can answer right off the bat without thinking it thoroughly through first. So anyways, I wanted to show y'all my hoodie, plugging myself a little bit. So you know that I just unveiled my course, the Introduction to Self-Love course. That is available right now, and you will be able to purchase it at its introductory price, as well as I did payment plans as well. So if you're interested, go to my last video because you'll learn all about what that course is about. And also, this is one of my hoodies from my merch. And it says aligned is the new hustle, which is all about my brand. And my brand is about us getting into alignment and living our best lives, even through the ups and downs, because you're always going to go through them. Getting into alignment so we can live our best lives and doing what's best for us. That's why I said aligned is the new hustle. It's not about hustling to get the coins and all this and that. It's about what is your focus, what needs to be your personalized focus, how can you get into alignment and all of that. So check out all those links in the description box. And as always, peace and love.